everyone, in this tutorial you will create a reciprocating mechanism as shown in figure here. You will use the top-down assembly approach to assemble different components of this mechanism, creating the sketch of the components. You can skip these two steps for creating the sketch of the components because I have already created the sketch of components. Choose the Finish Sketch button from the ribbon. Click on the Finish Sketch button. Now click on the Home button to get the asymmetric view of the model. Next, converting the sketches into components. Now you need to convert the sketches into parts to create a top-down assembly. Choose the Extrude tool from the Create panel. In the Design workspace, the Extrude dialog box is displayed. Click on the Extrude tool. Select the profile of the base. Now select the profile of the base. Select the offset option from the Start drop-down list and enter -10 in the offset edit box. From here, you have to select offset option and enter -10 in the offset edit box. Next, enter -5 in the distance edit box and select the new component option from the operation drop-down list. By doing this, you do not need to convert the body into components. Note that by default, the new body option is selected in the operation drop-down list. Enter -5 in the distance edit box and make sure that new component option should be selected in the operation drop-down list. Retain rest of the options and choose the OK button from this dialog box. Click on OK button. Next, you need to extrude the circular profile of the pin of the base plate. Select the profile of the pin of the previously created base plate from the sketch and then invoke the Extrude dialog box from the Create panel. Select the profile of the pin. Now click on the Extrude tool to invoke the Extrude dialog box. Enter -10 in the distance edit box and select the Join option from the operation drop-down list. Enter -10 in the distance edit box. Also make sure that Join option should be selected here. Choose the OK button from this dialog box. Click on the OK button. Next, you need to extrude the profile of the crank. Select the profile of the crank to extrude and invoke the Extrude dialog box. Select the profile of the crank. And then click on the Extrude tool. Enter -10 in the distance edit box and select the new component option from the operation drop-down list. Enter -10 in the distance edit box and make sure that new component option should be selected here. Retain rest of the settings and choose the OK button from the dialog box. Click on OK button. Next, you need to extrude the profile of the crank pin. Select the profile of the pin of the crank from the sketch and then invoke the Extrude dialog box from the Create panel. Select the profile of the pin of the crank. Now click on the extrude tool. Enter 5 in the distance edit box and select the join option from the operation drop-down list. Enter 5 in the distance edit box and make sure that join option is selected in the operation drop-down list. Choose the OK button from this dialog box. Click on OK button. Click on the Home button to get the isometric view of components. Next, you need to extrude the profile of the piston tank. Select the profile of the piston tank from the sketch and invoke the extrude dialog box. Select the profile of the piston tank by pressing the Ctrl key. And now click on the extrude tool. Enter -10 in the distance edit box. The profile gets extruded in the reverse direction. Enter -10 in the distance edit box. Select the new component option from the operation drop-down list. Choose the OK button from the dialog box. Make sure that new component option is selected in the operation drop-down list. Now click on OK button. Next, you need to extrude the pin of the piston tank. Select the profile of pin of the piston tank. Select the profile of the pin of the piston tank. Invoke the extrude dialog box and enter 5 in the distance edit box. Select join option from the operation drop-down list. Choose the extrude tool from the create panel and now enter 5 in the distance edit box and make sure that join option should be selected in the operation drop-down list. Choose the OK button from this dialog box. Now click on OK button. Next, click on the Home button. Similarly, select the profile of the piston rod from sketch and then choose the extrude tool from the create panel. Now you have to select profile of the piston rod from the graphics window. Then click on the extrude tool. Enter 5 mm in the distance edit box and select the new component option from the operation drop-down list. Enter 5 in the distance edit box and then choose new component option from the operation drop-down list. Choose the OK button from the dialog box. Click on OK button. Now click on Home button to get the isometric view of the components. Next, you need to rename all the components. To rename the component, you have to right click here and then choose rename option from the shortcut menu and then enter name of the component, base plate. Now select the another component and right click here and then choose rename option from the shortcut menu and then enter crank. Similarly, you can rename other two components. Now you can see that all components are renamed. Assembling the base plate and piston tank. Before assembling the components, you need to move the components to apply the joints easily. Select the component one by one in the design and move them at a certain location. Select the crank and move it here. Next, select the piston rod and move it here. Invoke the joint dialog box. Click here and then choose Joint tool from the Assemble panel to invoke the Joint dialog box. Select edges of the base plate and piston tank. Select the edge of the piston tank and then edge of the base plate. Choose the slider option from the type drop-down list in the motion tab. Click on the motion tab and then choose the slider option from here. Enter -55 mm in both of the offset X and offset Z edit boxes under the alignment node of the position tab. Click on the position tab and enter -55 in the offset X edit box and then enter -55 in the offset Z edit box. Make sure that Z axis is selected in the slide drop-down list of the motion tab. Click on the motion tab and make sure that Z axis option should be selected in the slide drop-down list. Choose the OK button from the dialog box. Click on OK button. Assembling the crank with the piston rod. Change the current view to the asymmetric view by choosing Home button from the graphics window. Click on the Home button to get the asymmetric view of the components. Choose the Joint tool from the Assemble panel of the Design workspace. The Joint dialog box is invoked. Click here, then choose the Joint tool. Next, select the location on the piston rod. On doing so, the Select button gets activated and you are prompted to place joint origin on the component. Select the location on the piston rod. Select the pin of the crank. Also choose the revolve option from the type drop-down list of the motion tab. Select the pin of the crank. Click on the motion tab and make sure that revolve option should be selected in the type drop-down list. Select the Z axis from the rotate drop-down list and choose the OK button from the dialog box. Make sure that Z axis is selected in the rotate drop-down list. And now click on OK button. Assembling the piston tank and piston rod. Invoke the joint dialog box. Before invoking the joint dialog box, click on the Home button. Now click here and choose the Joint tool from the Assemble panel. Select the pin of the piston tank and also select the edge of the hole of the piston rod. Select the pin of the piston tank and then edge of the hole of the piston rod. Choose the revolve option from the type drop-down list of the motion tab. Also make sure that Z axis is selected from the rotate drop-down list. Click on the motion tab. Make sure that revolve option should be selected in the type drop-down list and Z axis should be selected in the rotate drop-down list. Choose the OK button from the dialog box. Click on OK button. Similarly, assemble the crank and the base pin. Click here and choose the Joint tool to invoke the Joint dialog box. Now, select the hole of the crank and edge of the pin of the base plate. Click on the Motion tab and make sure that revolve option should be selected in the type drop-down list and Z axis should be selected in rotate drop-down list. Click on OK button. Now click on the Home button to get the isometric view of the assembly. Now you can see that reciprocating mechanism is created by assembling different components using the top-down approach. Thank you for watching this video.